Hey everybody, Wednesday morning and we're back. I am here today with two of my favorite people at all of Instructure. I like to know them as Superwoman and Superman. Today with two of my favorite people at all of Instructure. I like to know them as Superwoman and Superman. Today with two of my favorite people at all of Instructure. I like to know. Hey Scott. Hey everybody, sorry, we're having some quick technical difficulties. Scott, I think you have the stream open on your computer somewhere. Some quick technical difficulties. So if you'll close that for me. Scott's coming back in just a minute. Hey everybody, we are indeed live. Yes, we are. Hey, shout out to us here in the comments. I know we had Marcus, Brian, I think you're on. Patricia, tell us where you're from. We're just waiting to get totally kicked off with a few technical difficulties this morning, but we're here with Superwoman herself, Renee Carney, who helps run the community team. Renee, why don't you go ahead and give us a quick little introduction?
Mark, you're too kind. I am Director of Community. So if you aren't aware, we have a team of 12 that support you, actually 13. We count Scott as well. And I live in Washington State. I'm remote. And I get to do this cool thing where I spend time with you all in the virtual environment every day.
Awesome. Scott, do you want to do a quick introduction for us?
Yeah, sure. So Scott Dennis, Senior Director of Community at Instructure. I've been with Instructure for about 8 years now, and been able to focus 100% on community for about the last 6, and that's the best job I've ever had.
Awesome. We do have, looks like Brian joining us from Toledo, Ohio, Patricia from California. So awesome. Keep telling us in the comments where you're from. I'm again here with Superman and Woman from the Canvas community team, who are going to be sharing today all the ins and outs, not that they can in 30 minutes, but a few of their favorite things about the community, how to get involved, what you need to do, etc. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Scott and Renee. Have fun, everybody, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Great, thanks, Mark. Can everybody see my presentation currently?
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. All right, so Canvas community. So we get asked, what is the Canvas community sometimes? You know, like trying to explain it to, say, one of your parents, right? So some people, when they think of the community, they think of the platform. You know, there is a community platform that the Canvas community lives in, and for some people, the community is that platform plus the content that Instructure creates. We do have a big team of people that are dedicated to trying to get the best information about how Canvas works and what's changing in Canvas and how it works with other systems and everything. Keep making sure that you have the best information and that it's up to date. But really, the community are the people who interact with that platform, with that content on Twitter, on Facebook, just like this. It's really the people that help each other. Like if we didn't have people willing to step up and help each other, we wouldn't have what we have today. Okay, so where did the community come from? If you go back far enough in Instructure's history, it was a bit of a revolutionary idea at the time, but about 10 years ago, we as a company, they decided that people would be most successful if they had access to information. So rather than put things behind paywalls or make it premium content that only certain people could have access to, they wanted to get all the information out to people. So that was where the community started. Like, let's just put all of the documentation out. Let's let people ask questions, comment, talk to each other, talk to us. And it sort of grew from there. Okay, so if you look back, like I said, back in 2010, 2011, we didn't have software documentation at all. We had some very simple message boards, discussion boards that people could talk to each other on. There was a wiki at the time. And product design and what we call feature ideation really was just happening in the wild. There wasn't any process to it or anything like that. And then between then and 2008, we we got to a point where we really needed to have a formal community structure. And so that's how we got a community platform. And once that platform was in place, it really grew rapidly. So if you look at a couple of years ago, we were thinking it was pretty amazing that we had 286,000 people that were in the community that had created accounts, were doing things, talking to each other. And of that 286, maybe 22 would come and respond in discussions or ask and answer questions, that kind of thing. If you go back to the beginning of 2020, we had around 470,000 people that had gotten involved. And as of today, it's up over 700,000. And we have over 10 million page views just in 1 month, whereas we had 36 million for the entire year a few years ago. So it's really grown exponentially, or at least very steeply in that time. So we get asked this also a lot, like, do I have to be a paying customer of Canvas, of Instructure, to be in the community? And the answer is no. So if you go today and you Google almost anything, how do I XYZ in Canvas or Canvas, whatever, the chances are pretty good that your top search results are going to be things that are in the community. And even if you ask specific questions, a lot of times your browser, your metadata will come up right up in your web browser. So like, how do I file my grades? How do I do whatever? You won't even realize there is a community behind there serving up this information. But if you do click through, 98, 99% of the things in the community are freely open to anyone. So you don't have to be logged in, you don't have to be a customer, even a Canvas user for that matter, to search and browse and find information. And so you'll find not only what we hope is the best documentation that we can provide, the most complete documentation about the software, but then also in that same search, you'll find content created by other users or added by other users. When I'm using the software, this is what I do or why I do what I do. Here's a one-page guide that I created for people where I work. So you'll see those. How does it work? How do I, as a user, use it? What affects me? Together in one search. And for most people, that's plenty. That's what they're looking for. They're looking for an answer to a question, and they get it and they leave. But if you want to go farther than that, if you want to ask a question or participate in a discussion, say, anyone in the world, whether you're a paying customer or not, can do that. So this is interesting to me. This was in March. These are all of the places in the world that someone logged into Canvas using what we call Free for Teachers, the free version of Canvas. Now, Free for Teacher is a fully featured instance of Canvas. It's not Canvas Lite or anything like that. And anyone in the world can go and create a user account in Free for Teacher. They can then create as many courses as they want to and invite as many students via email to their course as they want. Those courses that they create will remain active and open as long as someone logs in within a year. So you can really use Canvas for free. And if you're using Canvas for free or you're using it at an institution, you have that same access to the community. So if you are at the most vaunted college out there, university out there, or you are creating courses at home because your kids are home from school in the current pandemic, everybody has the same access. Everybody has the same vote, the same voice. The community is really an open forum for anyone who wants to be involved. So how to get in? If you don't have a Canvas account, you can just Google Canvas Free for Teachers, and then, or use your institutional account. But then once you're inside Canvas, if you click on the Help menu, you should see a series of links there, including, usually by default, one of them is Ask the Community. Also, if you go search the Canvas guides, you'll find a way to get to the community because the Canvas guides live in the community. Or you can simply go to community.instructure.com. Once you get to the community, you have up in the upper right-hand corner, there's a login link there. So if you're already authenticated into Canvas, then clicking on that login link, the first time you do it, it will ask you your name, check the information that it's coming from Canvas to make sure that it's accurate. And then after that, it should just let you in after that first time. You may see a little drop-down menu that says, hey, you've logged into multiple instances of Canvas in the past. Which one do you use for your community profile? But that should just be a simple drop-down, and then you should be off to the races. And so to talk more specifically about some of the things that you see in that global nav up there, like the guides and the Q&A and ideas, I'm going to hand off to Renee now.
Thank you, Scott. Actually, if you go back one slide real fast, I just wanted to call attention that when you do land on the home page here, you can see the very top bar is intended to highlight some of the most common places that people go, especially in their first experience with the community. And then just below that, there's a way for you to dive into curated content by your role. So if you are an admin or an instructor, you can see content specific to you in a nice, simple space. And then just below that, you'll see recent content or important content that we're drawing attention to there in a spotlight format. So we're going to dive in next to some of the specific places that are the most useful for users. And the first is guides. So when you click on the guides, there's a lot of options there in the menu, and it's just designed to help you find information and resources that hopefully answer your questions. So in the next slide, you'll see the view of our All Guides page. And you can see that when you go there, it actually differentiates or curates the guides by feature type. So you could look at Canvas specifically, or catalog, or community guides, which tell you exactly how to leverage the community itself. And you can search there within just that space. Now, if you click on Canvas guides, that'll take us to our next screenshot. Oh, thank you, Beth. That is a great compliment that you found the redesign helpful. So when you click into guides, as you can see here, then you can start to look at them by role. There is also a simple getting started guide, and you can see other reference documentation or technical resources that are around that specific feature. The next thing we're going to look at, go ahead, Scott, is Q&A. So again, like the guides lesson there, it's curated specifically to help you find things that answer your questions or ask questions. So next one, Scott. This is what the page looks like if you click on the question and answer space. You can use the buttons on the left for sorting questions in different ways. But mainly there is that center pane that lets you see recently answered questions or recently asked questions. You can search different questions. And then if you don't find one like yours, you can, up in the top right, go ahead and ask a question or start a discussion. Sorry, top left. That was a little small for me. So also in the Q&A menu are the release notes. Go ahead, Scott. Yeah, there you go. The release notes are, again, categorized by feature type. So you can click in and see what's recently released. You can also follow that page to get the most current content that's being added. And next one, we're going to look at the ideas menu. So if you click into priorities and ideas, you'll see our next screen, which actually has a modified roadmap for product. You can see exactly what's being developed right now. In that center box, you can click on beta and see what's available to test in beta. And then when you click on the release tab, it will show you or link you to recently released content. That release tab also has a really interesting number in it. So I encourage you to go look at it, but that number tells you how many feature ideas have been completed from community suggestions. Sorry, Scott, go ahead, turn on your mic. What were you saying?
Oh, I didn't say anything. I just was hand gesturing 507, I think.
Oh, just 507? That's pretty awesome. And I know we get a ton of ideas. And you can submit ideas, you can vote. The use cases are awesome, and our product team loves to read through those. So it's a very valuable process. It's also very complex, but very valuable. And then under the browse menu, you'll see some content. But if you go ahead and move forward, Scott, I want to call attention to our events page. So our Canvas Live is our events page. It recently, as of actually this week, got a facelift. And we did that in response to, of course, the pandemic going on, trying to give you more consumable content that is curated in ways that hopefully make sense to you when you come in. It also simplifies how you can do just-in-time live events like this, whether they're, gatherings that are impromptu or something that you want to schedule that's topic related. It just gives you an opportunity to say, hey, I'm here and I want to talk about this thing. Who else in the world would like to talk about it with me? And then the last slide I think I have here about spaces in the community has to do with advocacy. So there is tons of content available for you to consume, but then we also love when our users get in, they get involved, and as you can see, connect, nurture, grow, thrive. So this is the program that we have that allows you to engage in not just the content of the community, but also in our social realm or out in our conference world and presentation world. This is how we organize and curate activities where you can go out and get involved in the Canvas community in a deeper way. So I encourage you to go to the community, use the search bar to search for advocacy, and check this out, because this is just a small snippet of the page. There's more information with cool content there. So to sum it up, lots of opportunities to engage, as we said. There's curated content for your role on the homepage. There's the guides section where you can find just about anything that you want to learn how to do. You can get involved in Q&A. You can stay up to date on releases. You can keep tabs on that roadmap and have a voice in it. You can host live events, and we hope to see you in advocacy.
Very much so. Okay. So this slide, just like Canvas is a cloud-based platform, the Canvas community lives in a cloud-based platform. And when we moved to that platform from our old home, it was such an improvement. It was a big jump forward for us, and it really allowed people to connect with each other in ways they hadn't before. And as time has gone on, the limitations of that platform have become more apparent as it's gotten older. So we're moving to a new platform. Some of the things that will allow us to do, if you're a member of the community now, you probably are aware that there are some limitations around being able to log in from a mobile device. So we think that not only will the new platform allow people to do that much easier, but also just have a better experience once they're in the community. And it's also going to be more extensible. So right now, the Canvas community, sometimes we're talking about all of the people who are in Twitter and Facebook and community platform and lots of different places. Sometimes we're talking specifically about this particular software platform. The new platform will allow us to blend those boundaries more than we can today. So community will show up more on the corporate website, more in social media. It will allow us to blend that. And as time has gone on, technology's changed, and we'll have more options for how we do things, like the way that we let people level up and gain badges, the way that we manage conversations. We'll be able to respond more quickly to changes in the community with better management tools, better metrics. And as far as when this will happen, in the background, it's happening now. We're in the process of building out the new home and migrating over the millions of pieces of content and the hundreds of thousands of people and all of that. And then as users, midsummer. So target is mid-July at this point that you'll see a switchover. And you won't have to recreate your user or your password or repost all your blog content or anything like that. We're going to try to lift and shift all people, all content, and as many associations between people and content as we can. And it's not a typo there. I did leave a second major bullet because the road ahead is not always clear. We're not sure what else will come, but I don't see the pace of growth and the wonderful things that people innovate around and do together in the community changing anytime soon.
So Scott,
oh,
Renee, sorry to jump in. I know Marcus is over here on the background and he's probably screaming in his room by himself. But so Marcus, be careful wherever you are. But I know there's going to be a lot of people, including me at the top of the list, who are really, really excited about the even closer integration. That this word community is not going to mean so much just the software platform that people use to get great information to connect with people. It's going to mean what's happening on the website, what's happening with these big influencers and advocates on social media. Maybe talk a little bit more about that. Let's take Marcus, who we love, of course. How is Marcus going to be able to interact more on social media and have it be engaging within the community as well?
A lot of that, Mark, still remains to be seen as we build out the platform. But in general, in the cloud software world, we build platforms or we build software that tries to meet everybody's needs, right? So, just like with Canvas, we constantly are having to make decisions about how the software should function, what we should develop next instead of the other thing. The same thing with community platforms, and the platform that we are on currently was a bit of a compromise for people who are doing almost more like an intranet or an internal community for, say, your bank, the employees at a bank, or people who, like in the Canvas world, are out in a open, all people can come type open community. The new platform that we're going to is much more oriented towards that user-to-user support-based open community. So a lot of those compromises around blending other things on the internet with what's happening in this platform, they'll take a different take on that. So more specifically, it'll be easier for you to surface things that happen in the community platform in in Twitter, or have community content that lives in the community platform also appear on websites, say. There's also, I think, going to be quite a bit more integration between the way companies like us manage our social presence. So you guys do awesome work on the social team. I think you'll be much more able to be aware of what's happening in the community platform in real time in your work with social. Does that answer the question?
Awesome. That's perfect.
I think I'll throw in a teaser too. Something that we are as a team are exploring right now, as many of you are exploring it too, is we're learning about folios and what that offers and pathways. And we are starting to take our advocacy program, lift it from a Canvas course, move it into a pathway. So there will be an advocacy network, and it will easily allow our advocates to earn their badges and share them up in their social networks and share what they're doing out there in the Canvas community socially.
That's awesome. Marcus, yes, we agree. You know that I'm a huge fan. Anytime that we can unify what's happening with community and social media, I'm all for it. Renee, Scott, and I kind of work as a team, if you will. And so this integration is going to make it even better. So Renee, former educator, my question for you is, if you were starting out brand new, with the Canvas community, where would you start? What are the pieces that you think people just have to make sure they engage with within the community?
Put me on the spot. You know, the guides, I'm a sucker for video. So if you click on that guides link or that menu that I showed, there's a link at the bottom that says video. And those are great step-by-step, top high-level curated videos that will get you started and then help you dive into the guides further.
Awesome. Scott, what about you? Same question. Where would you start? What would you tell a new educator? You know, these are the things I would do to really get going in the community.
You know, Mark, that when I was in those shoes years ago, it was really exciting to me that I could go and read the guides and watch the videos and everything at the very same time that I was experimenting in a full production Canvas environment. So if you don't have access to Canvas today, you know, run, don't walk over to Free for Teacher and get yourself set up there. There's no shame in having a Free for Teacher account if you're also using another instance. And then just literally side by side, be walking through those videos and then trying it in Free for Teacher or in your instance of Canvas. And then as you have questions or you run into roadblocks, do not hesitate to come back to the community, comment on things, ask questions, search for other people who have had the same experience as you. Just really get involved. Don't be bashful.
That's perfect.
And a note to that is there's not automation in the community. It's real humans, just like all of you that are answering your questions, engaging in your comments. There's real people there. Yep. Ready to help.
It's fantastic. Again, more than 700,000 members in this community. Back in 2017, remind me the number, Scott, I think it was about 17 million page views that we had throughout that year.
I think so in 2017, we had 36 million page views for the year, and we felt like we had arrived. We thought that was amazing. We had about 280,000 people who created accounts. And now we're seeing, you know, over 10 million page views in a month, and sometimes 30,000 new people showing up for the first time.
That's awesome. So this is the place to be. Renee, remind us, if you want to be involved in the community, where should people go right this minute?
community.canvaslms.com.
Go check it out. Last question for the two of you. Start with you, Scott. Obviously, with the pandemic that's been going on, we hope all of our teachers and friends are hanging in there and being safe. But what have you guys seen from a community standpoint over this past, 6 weeks, 8-week period? Has there been a significant increase in the community? What have you seen?
So we see a pattern that happens every Northern Hemisphere fall start, we call it. All right. So when people who are in Europe or NORAM are going back to school, we see this big wave of people that come into the community, and we see a wave where people are they're watching videos, they're reading guides, they're asking questions, they're contacting Canvas support. But there's like this sort of same pattern that we see every time there's a big influx of people. When the pandemic hit, we saw the same thing, only it was global, and it was on a scale way beyond anything we've ever seen, sometimes 4 and 5 times the volume or activity. And we saw this tidal wave of people, just as we see everywhere else around, desperately trying to adopt new technology, new learning styles, just trying to get any kind of help that they could. And some of the very, very basic questions: how do I get a video chat started with my students? How do I post resources online somewhere where my students can access them? Just very basic things. And then over the weeks, we still see people who are doing that, but we see more and more people who are like, okay, I've been trapped in my house now for 45 days. I have been using this software. Now I have much more sophisticated questions. And while it's never good to see people in pain, essentially, trying desperately to solve problems, it's such a invigorating thing to watch people move from those first sort of baby steps into, now I'm looking at more comprehensive methods of education and assessment, and trying to look at more authentic connection with people. So
that's awesome. Brian, excellent comment. Brian says here he loves how the company and community encourage teachers to push the limits of the application. Totally agree. There's some comments and question here about really about using other languages. Renee, do you want to talk a little bit about, Jonas here is asking for more resources in Spanish. What are we doing currently with for other regions in the world, and what can we expect in the future?
That's a great question, Jonas. And we do offer translated guides. We try to assess need, and because translation is a lengthy process, especially as we update as regularly as we do. So we'll keep an eye on that, on activity and assess need. We have found that, inline web translation works fairly well as well with the community. So encourage you to utilize that, but also let us know if there is something specific, and we're happy to assess that.
For anybody that hasn't been there, if you go to guides.instructure.com, you'll find a more simplified interface for people who are looking for guides in different languages. And just to add to what Renee said, I frequently hear people ask, well, why don't we just translate all of the guides and all of the content into all of the languages? Like, why not? Obviously, we've got finite resources as a company, and then the dollars in have to match up with the dollars going out. That's a reality. But also, like Renee said, we're changing Canvas constantly, and there's going to be a bit of a delay between getting things translated and then getting them updated again when things change. And so we have to try to make a decision about how many things to translate, knowing that the more things we translate, the slower we'll be able to get to updating them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's fair. Jonas responds already. Thanks. So thank you, Scott and Renee. Renee, why don't you take this next one?
Yeah. So Patricia, how can I increase data storage? Great question. I saw it previously. Sorry, we didn't answer it. But that is basically something you need to talk with your CSM about. If you're not the local Canvas admin, then go through your admin who can go through the CSM. But anything that has to do with contract licenses and in using the product itself, needs to be addressed in that way. We as the community team can't help answer that.
Yeah, just to piggyback on that a little bit. If you're using a paid version of Canvas, your institution and Instructure have come to an agreement about how much storage the entire institution should have. And then beyond that, you may have local policies around which kinds of classes or which disciplines can use up however much of that storage that's available. So
awesome. Well, big thanks to Scott and to Renee for giving us the big walkthrough on everything community. Please go check it out now. Again, community.canvaslms.com. There are hundreds of thousands, we may even say 700,000+ members of the community in there today. If you're having an issue or a problem, chances are pretty good that somebody else has already figured out the solution. So go in there, check the guides, search for things, connect with people, and you'll see really quickly how valuable this incredible group and community is. Thanks again, Scott and Renee, everybody. We're back tomorrow at 10:30 talking with our good partner, Badger. So join us then. See you tomorrow morning.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, all.